Yes, and that's it. We are live. Hi,
Oh,
Brad.
hello. Uh,
How how are you?
I'm good. I was trying to join the chat to say hello to Soham, um, but it turns out I cannot join the chat. So hello, Soham.
Yeah, hi to India. Yeah, cool. Thanks for joining
How are
today.
you, Nella?
We act- I'm good. I feel it's exciting the week again because it's launch week. How is your launch week going so far?
It a little stressful, but I feel like we've made everything. We've launched everything that we wanted to launch so far, which is good.
Yeah, that's a success. It's actually fun. And actually today we want to keep the format short and sweet like the last time, and we see if we can go through all the things quickly from the launch week. So it's this week today, and actually we've done already a bunch of things. So we already made it until Thursday, and we are both still alive. I think that's an achievement. And tomorrow actually is a big day because tomorrow we release everything honk related. I'm quite excited about that because, yeah, I like our small goose by now. Brett, do you have one of the things or features that you see here? Do you have a favorite one among those?
Yeah, so definitely the static code analysis. Just at a personal level, it's one of the few things in recent memory that took quite a bit of engineering effort on our part. So, like, three of us in a room sketching things out on a whiteboard. One of the few instances where whiteboarding is, very, very helpful. So, seeing, several weeks ago, kind of a couple of thoughts come to life and then actually work was very, very gratifying. So I gotta say, static code analysis. I do really like the stuff that's coming tomorrow for Honk, though. Um, but
Oh,
that's a secret.
that's well, we might give a preview or a sneak preview today about the Friday release, but yeah. Do you like to add something to static code analysis? How does it make Fiberplane a better tool to use, like especially the client library?
Yeah, I guess so. What we did there is that we're acting a bit more like an IDE. So when you launch Fiberplane Studio in your project root, we comb through your project files, all locally, by the way, and then we kind of sketch out, okay, this route originates from this file. This piece of middleware originates from this file. And then we are able to do, for like the AI request generation stuff, we can, the trickiest engineering thing here was that you have the routes that are reported by the client library, and then you have the routes that we detect with static analysis. And we need to like correlate that in some sort of smart way. And when we are able to do that, we can power like pretty intelligent request payload suggestions without requiring you to write an open API spec. And then as we did this Wednesday, it just kind of opens the door to a lot more like IDE-like features. So right now we can also organize all of your routes as they appear in your files, which is pretty cool. So it kind of matches your mental model of how and where you're defining your routes. And then there's more stuff to come on that we can do of just like being able to point to specific sections of code in your code base, depending on where errors happened and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it's a good starting point to build on top, as you said. I was quite excited about the Cloudflare service binding. Maybe that seems to be small, but I feel now with Cloudflare being also able to have multiple workers and they can connect to each other, you can start building kind of service architectures with Cloudflare workers. And I found that personally interesting because I like this architecture topics a lot. And yeah, maybe we can jump quickly into the code and also see how it looks in Fiberplane Studio for the Tuesday. So let me, yeah, let me show you here a basic worker, and that worker basically is connecting to another one. So you can define this in the Wrangler terminal, and then you have another binding here, the worker email. And then it's quite cool in code and also how it's executing because you can go over the Cloudflare RPC, and then it's really only like calling the method of that worker and give in or hand in the parameters. And what I had to understand a little bit, although you communicate between two workers, they stay in the same thread. So it is one thread over or in the Cloudflare network. The other thing you can do with Cloudflare is not only over RPC, but also fetch is working. It's commented out here, but you could also use the fetch method on the email worker to call the worker. And now the cool thing, what we did in Fiberplane Studio is basically that you can also, well, let's use one that is here already. So it's a generated payload already. Someone wants to sign up for a marathon. And if I send that request now, it goes through. But what we see now in the timeline is that we are calling another worker, another binding. And we get here the information from that. Actually, we see that we have a worker here that has been called. We see the method, and we also see here the arguments that we hand in. I found that feature is quite nice. Anything you like to add to the bindings? You are muted, Brad. I can't hear you.
It was surprisingly tricky. I'll put it that way. At the end of the day, I thought it was going to be easy, and those were my famous last words. But at the end of the day, we shipped it, so that was cool.
I also remember that I tried it out, and I had to poke you again because there was this weird error showing up, but you fixed it. I mean, that's like.
I did. Okay. Well, actually, a side note on this. This is top 10 weirdest bugs of my career. So a little like, okay. What happened was, when I was working on this, the way that we do a lot of this automatic instrumentation is we create a proxy object for any of the bindings that are in your kind of like Cloudflare environment. So in this case, we have to like go through everything that's defined on your environment, and we look for things that appear to be like a service binding, so another worker, and then we proxy that and try to basically wrap instrumentation around any calls that you're making to it. And that's kind of the magic under the hood. So the weird bug that happened to me as I was developing this is that like I would get it to work while like very frustratedly. So I'd just be like trying kind of a little bit of random stuff here and there, not really cleaning up the code. It would work, and I'd be like, awesome, it works. And then I would clean up chunks of code that had nothing to do with what I just implemented, and all of a sudden it would stop working. And this went on for like 2 or 3 hours. And then eventually, so like the second or third time, I just created a checkpoint in Git. I was like, okay, I'm committing it where I know it works. And then I'll just keep rolling back to that and try to figure out what went wrong. So what went wrong, this is kind of hard to explain, but basically it was only working when I had a type error in my code. And maybe I'll save the explanation for another time, but just like resolving that.
That's interesting. I want to. We need to do it another time. I want to know that now. So you are telling me you need to have an error in your code base to make this work, basically. So.
Yeah. So well, when I was working on the feature, it was just like by sheer luck, I kind of uncovered that it was working, and it had to do with like we had multiple build steps, basically. Okay.
I see. Lorena says we need an explanation. So sorry, you have to.
The high-level explanation is that we were using both TypeScript, like TypeScript compiler, and then we were using Speedy Web compiler. So we had basically like 2 compile steps, but they had different targets, and they kind of like depended on each other. So we would first build with TypeScript, and then if that build had no errors, we would then rebuild with Speedy Web compiler, which was a mistake. We shouldn't have been doing that. I don't know why we were doing that. So the reason that it worked when there was a type error is that technically TypeScript would still build the code, but the TypeScript compiling would have an error. So the Speedy Web compiler version would not build. And so what was happening is that like I built a version that would work when there was a type error because Speedy Web compiler had basically just like an unnecessary like build target that was changing the proxy object to work in like ES5 or ES6 or something. Yeah, so basically breaking the second build step allowed the right code to function. And anytime that I fixed any of my type errors, both build steps worked, and things broke. Yeah, that was top 10 weirdest bugs in my career.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I think it also took some time to figure that out, right? It feels like something you don't think of immediately. So
I was very glad the office was empty because I was yelling a lot.
okay, well, I see, I understand. Okay, so well, cool that we have bindings. Glad that I learned more about that weird error as well. I think we can go to the Wednesday that happened yesterday. I stopped sharing for now. Yeah, yesterday was the file view. Brett, I hand that over to you.
Yeah, I'm realizing, so I had to boot up Firefox. So shout out Firefox for actually working with StreamYard where Chrome was not for some reason, even though Chrome is the recommended one. I don't know. Let's see here. I don't know if it's going to let me share my screen, but I'm going to try to share my entire screen. Okay. I might have to quit and restart. So I could have, I don't know, I could have you drive on this, or we could skip ahead.
As you want. Can I do that with a project that I'm like, I don't have multiple things in my project at the moment, so I only have everything in one.
So do you have the create honk app repo? Like, do you have that repo locally?
Let me take
You can
that.
also clone it from GitHub.
Yeah, I can. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's do that. I will give you my my entire screen again, and we can
We're
see
live
how
coding, everybody.
live coding. I think I might not have it in my folder because I switched again to Mac because of the stream that we are doing. So let's see.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah, there it is.
Okay. You might want to zoom in a little bit because it's kind of hard to read if it's possible. I think you do Command plus a bunch of times, and that should do it.
It's not working.
It is not working. Oh, you're in the Mac terminal. Like Command Shift Dot. I don't know.
Well, but I mean, I go into VS Code. I can zoom in there for sure. So.
Oh, right on. Make sure
works.
You pull the latest to. Oh, we got uncommitted code.
That is not good.
Oh, you can
git stash that.
Yeah.
It's probably not important.
Famous last words. Oh, those are just untracked. Those are untracked files. It's fine. Do a git pull, and we'll see if it complains. All right. Seems good. Okay, so now pnpm I. So this is going to install dependencies. We have an example API. Oh, this is a spoiler for tomorrow. We have an example API called PlaceGoose that our friend Aristo has been working on. So if you go into change directories into examples/PlaceGoose, and so this one, if you you'll want to start Studio and monitor this API.
Yeah, just let me do one thing because I just realized I have the other thing still running, so I don't want to have any complication.
Smart. Yeah.
With ports. So let's just shut down all the other workers here, and we don't need this one anymore. So it is dev run, I guess.
Just dev. Ooh, I think just dev. Pnpm dev. So npm, you always have to say run. Pnpm and yarn, you don't need the run. Pnpm dev. We'll see if this. Cool. Oh, you might need to. Well, no. This will be fine. This will be fine. Okay. Oh yeah, we're testing the newly built FiberPlane Studio.
I go to latest.
Yes. Also, I'm just catching up on the comments in the stream. I saw Lorinas was mentioning that bindings on Cloudflare are actually proxy objects themselves, and that we ended up proxying a proxy, which is very true. And there's some good blog posts to write on all of the ridiculousness that happened with the proxying service bindings, but that is for another time. Okay.
Let me just do the thing, because I learned it's better for Studio for the detection to just restart after it's setting up for the Wrangler stuff. I don't know if that's still true.
Yeah, there might be, what's going on here? This could be because it's in a mono repo and it gets confused. So I would ignore some of those errors. Oh, wait, unless, we'll see. We'll see if it works. It did work. Hashtag worked for me locally.
Yeah, it's here.
I know it's there, but if the static analysis did not work, then we may have a problem. But let's check it out.
I mean,
okay.
we don't see any.
Yep, you got to click the, so that it says detected an app, and then there's that button. Now there's a button next to, all right, see the two buttons on the right? Actually, this is a good UX
perfect.
study. Whoa, oh my gosh, it worked.
It worked, cool.
Cool. All right, so this, huge spoiler alert, this is for a Goose-themed variant of JSON placeholder, which is kind of just like a service you can get placeholder JSON data from, except in this case it's all Goose themed. It's also serving as a very good reference app for a couple of like medium to advanced patterns with HONO APIs. We won't dig into that now, but just know that like the resources for the API are split out by file, and here you can see that represented in the file tree. So your list of routes is organized as you organize it in your code base, which is kind of nice.
I think that's quite cool, especially if you work on bigger applications where you have more routes and more files, and you want to see them. Cool. Yeah, let me stop that application now, because we jump on to the next feature, which was that's actually that was the OpenAPI implementation. And because I don't have that here, I stop again the application that we just started.
Oh yeah, more switch. I'm so sorry. I put you in a spot where you have to.
No, it's okay. I mean, I'm also a little bit nervous because you put me in this spot. I like to have stuff prepared, but I mean, it worked. I mean, we can do that again.
Yeah, I saw some of the errors from the console, and I was like, oh no, is this not going to work? But it works, which is nice.
I mean, let's see now. Well, why do you want to be installed?
Again? It's fun.
Yeah, let's go to Studio. And I mean, that is, I think that's quite cool, because especially if you build an API that is for external usage, you want to make sure that other people know how to use your API. And I think Open API specification has become de facto the standard of defining your routes. And there are a bunch of tools that make it easy to take that specification and make docs out of it. And that's something that we do also now. So if we, for example, have here the post user, you see here the new docs tab, and you can go on it. And yeah, you get here an idea what the request body should look like. So that you need a string as a name and a number for the age. And then also you see here the expected responses that can come from this route. And yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you know now how to deal with the API. On the other hand, I also think it could be useful to see if you have implemented correctly in your application. I mean, we use Zod under the hood, and I mean, it also kind of shows you if you have thought of everything, I would say, in your Open API spec. So if we go to the code, maybe.
Yeah, just
here.
To paint a little bit of a picture here. So that docs tab is like basically requires no configuration on your part if you're using Hono's Zod OpenAPI kind of like extension. So it's a slightly different way of writing a Hono app, which Nele is about to show. But the benefit is that you get an OpenAPI spec for free that kind of like live updates. So like your code and your spec are always in sync. And then we just kind of take advantage of that to show some documentation in the UI.
Yeah, and I think that's what you mentioned, right? So if you use that Zod, in your application, you extend the HONC class here, and then you start defining schemas with Dot. And Dot actually has a library that then export to the OpenAPI spec. And once you have your schema, for example, for your user ID parameter, or also for your new user, like as a schema for the request body that you would expect, what you do then is like defining the routes as well with Dot. So saying basically that you get a new route, and then also the response codes that you can have, and then it comes finally somewhere down there. Whoops. To define the business logic for your route, then you basically hand in the constant route the route that you have defined with the schema, and can define, and you can still define here what you would do once this route is called.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, like on a personal level, this is not how I would choose to write the code for an API, just because it's much more verbose. But I've been in a spot where I needed to have like a solid API spec, especially for an external API. And there's not really any way around when you want your spec generated from your code, you're going to have to write code in a slightly different way. And a lot of times the benefits of the spec will vastly outweigh your personal preference, or my personal preferences in this instance, for what kind of code you want to write. It's very, very nice to have a specification when you are like delivering an API to other people. Yeah.
I think I can agree, because if you don't have that, it can become quite tricky to know how you would interact with it.
Yeah, screencasts.
Maybe. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's all the exciting releases we have for Studio. But as I said, I'm excited for tomorrow. And I don't know if we can do a preview now with the HONC app, because I was quite excited that you
totally
are on the stream with me. But knowing
you
that
can do it.
I can do it?
It's technically, it's live. It's been a sleeper feature. The only thing that's on my plate is to make it cough cough cheaper for us to run. So by all means, if you are watching this, feel free to try this. It's pretty fun. So all you'll need to do, by the way, okay, hatch. What do we mean by hatch? Do you want to explain it, Nela?
No, I think you are the best person to explain. So
okay, it's small. It's a small thing, but it's kind of, when it works, it's pretty fun. I think we shall explain. We shall show and tell simultaneously. So if you maybe in like a VS Code terminal, just because you can make it bigger, and we can show the commands. To type npx or pnpx. Oh wait, no, sorry. Yeah, pnpm space create space honc. Yeah, honc app. So honc-app at latest, and then space dash dash space dash dash hatch.
What? Dash dash hash?
Dash dash hatch, like hatching an egg.
Ah.
Okay. If this doesn't work, then we'll exit the stream immediately. No, I'm kidding. All right.
I hit enter.
Yeah, hit enter. All right. So what's going to happen here? We have the whole create honc app, which is just basically a CLI for templating a honc app with a specific database. When you add the hatch parameter here, Lorenas in the chat has mentioned that we should do a hashtag or dash dash with like a hatching duckling emote. Actually, that would be pretty fun. I mean, it kind of
that would be cute. I would like to have that.
Okay,
I could remember
I'll work
better
on that right now. Okay, what's happening right here? We are going to prompt you. So normally we just prompt you for the template that you want to use, which is like, would you like to use a Neon database or a Cloudflare D1 database? In this case, we're going to ask you what you want to build. So yeah, just that you can come up with any sort of random API and describe it.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we want to build something for geese or do we want to build something for ourselves? Like a holiday
What about something
holiday
for
movie recommendation API?
okay, to watch with your pet goose? No, just a holiday. I like that holiday movie recommendation. API.
That features geese, maybe, or that is
No, we
well,
can leave the
no.
geese out for now. We don't want to. All right. Holiday movie recommendation API, and then click enter. All right. So now we're gonna just do the normal create honk app flow, and you can step through here, do whatever form of database you want. Ooh, should we install dependencies? Yes. We're going to initialize a Git repository. Love that. And now we're installing dependencies. Okay, so this is the normal create honk app flow. What's actually happening in the background is we sent off a little request to bootstrap some files according to your app description. So, spoiler alert, it's using an LLM to do some code generation that gives you something a bit more specific to what you're trying to build, so that whatever template you end up with, it looks a bit more like what you would ultimately want to try building or experimenting with the honk stack. So still working on making this faster, but hopefully it will ultimately return the generated bootstrapped files. I could speak a little bit about what it's actually doing. So the first pass at this is just like one giant LLM call. It really leverages the giant context windows that we have with LLMs. And it's just asking for a single index file for your API. It's asking for a database schema, and it's asking for a seed file. So those are the three things that it will modify. It looks like no errors, which is nice. Okay. And in this case, yeah, you can open the editor.
Because now I want to see what it generated. So yeah.
Occasionally it gets it wrong, but a lot of times it gets it right. I'm not seeing any type errors, which is nice.
Oh, here we have the movies. We have users, but also we have movies.
Okay.
So we can get movies here. We can post a movie.
Yep. Title, genre, release date. Okay.
I think that's in the schema as well, right? So if we go here to the schema, we can also see.
We have a little error in the schema, but I think we can resolve it. If you go there, try to just command dot. And yeah, do update import from Drizzle ORM. That's a fun VS Code fix. If Arenas was saying we should optimize for bad Canadian Netflix movies. I don't want to co-opt this stream to talk about how good bad Canadian Netflix movies are, holiday movies are, but they're very good and bad. Anyways, I think, do we have any other errors in this file?
No, I think that's fine. Should we spin it up?
Why not?
Why not? I mean, let's give that a try.
Wow. Okay. It even has like a ratings kind of like join table, which is interesting.
So did I do it with so I do a npm or p. I think I need to generate the database.
You can do db setup if you want. Yeah, when you work with D1, we need to do a little bit of magic to get things to work locally with Drizzle. And part of that magic is just like executing a random query against the database so that your local database... Oh!
Seeding is failing.
Okay. Yeah. Code generation is hard. Maybe I can... I should probably have some...
But I mean, I guess even if it's failing, we should be able to spin it up, but we have no data in the database then, I guess.
Exactly.
So, I mean, let's just do it for fun so we can see that that we potentially, if we would fix the seeding, then also
All right, so we kicked off the API. Nice. Got Studio running. By the way, I'm realizing like I released a bunch of new stuff like 2 minutes before we started streaming. So
It's launch week. I mean, that's
in the
supposed how the
middle of
launch week
this,
should go, right?
I
So,
know, in the
but
middle of the
yeah.
stream, I was like, that was a terrible idea. I should not have done that. And so far, the only thing that broke is the what the AI did. So, is that on us? I don't know.
That's okay, but I feel it's cool because we see that we have we can also even use the new, should we
Well, yeah.
not be able?
No, it's
Well,
there. It's just everything's in one file. So
it's
you
in
see
one
right there it
file,
says
yeah.
source. Yeah.
I was wondering if AI also puts it in 2 different folders for users and movies, but I think it's a
Not
nice
yet.
start for the application, right? So you can now potentially fix the seeding file, so you
Yeah.
have some data, because I assume because the seeding was not successful, there is no user in the database.
Well, no, but that's a good sign. Okay, so seeding was not successful, but it looks like the database schema was correct. So we can probably, I don't know. Well, it's 5:30. Well, I was like, let's fix the seeding file, but I think we've done enough.
Let's do that next week, because I feel next week we could also talk a little bit more about this whole workflow of creation, like the HONC app, how we created, what files we have there, like in terms of like the database schema, all the things. I think that might be a nice thing that we can do next week. If I can ping you again next week, so then we would be up online. So I would say thanks for joining, Brett, even though it's launch week.
Well, thank you for hosting, Nilla.
Well, I guess we're both hosting.
I guess so. Thank you for like clearly being a better host. I feel like I'm the tag-on host. You're the organized host.
I create the calendar invite. I do that.
I'm the guy who's like screen sharing doesn't work. Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, I could not have it's good that you're here. It's like pair programming live, basically. So yeah. With that, I would say we have Friday to go for our launch week, and I think we see us next week, same time, same venue.
Yes, the internet.
The internet. Cool.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm still gonna wave. I'm still waving.